Hi, everybody. Dave Clark here from InspectCheck.net. Today, I want to talk about air admittance valves. And we had a conversation with some home inspectors the other day, and it brought up some good conversation with them, and talked to a couple plumber friends of mine. And I know how I report on them. And I just wanted to share some information about air admittance valve. There's always some confusion. Are they allowed? How many are allowed? Could we have one on every fixture? Could we have one servicing other fixtures? And should we call them out? And I think the answer is yes to all that stuff. So let's take a look at air admittance valves. And I'm going to share my screen with you, like I always do. And we're going to go right to what is an air admittance valve. Let's take a look. Bring all these windows up. And we're going to go right here. And let's take a look. So here we've got two different ones. And this is where some of the controversy is, and make it a little bit bigger. It's pretty simple. And these are maybe too big. And so they're two different ones. You see them both in the store. This one's considerably less, maybe a quarter of the price. This one's more expensive, but they're different. Okay, they're both technically air admittance valve, but this we're going to call a mechanical air admittance valve, and it's got a spring and a seal that's in there. And this one is not. It doesn't have a spring or a seal. It works on the suction in the system. And a couple of things here. I see these sometimes in mobile homes, not manufactured homes, not modular homes. Be very clear. Manufactured, like mobile homes that you could drive around. You could pull them around. Those type of homes. I see them, RVs, things like that. Even though I have seen a couple of these also in those type of manufactured houses. So why would they put these? Why would they put these? It comes down to, I think, the manufacturer. It comes down to the plumber. It comes down to what that municipality will approve. But really, this is really the one that we like to use as an air admittance valve. You take a lot of plumbers, especially people who have been around a long time. They don't like them at all. And back to municipalities, some will allow one per floor, or one per house, or one maybe on a kitchen island where they can't get to a vent or something like that. Some will allow more. I think there's some municipalities, I think even in Canada, that allow whole house ones, that there's not even one penetrating the roof, and we'll talk about that in a second. But really, as far as home inspectors, if we're going to see an air admittance valve, this is the one we want to see. We're really going to call these out because, again, they can leak, they can fail. They don't work as well as these, and I know people buy them maybe because they're cheaper. But anyway, so let's take a look at exactly how that air admittance valve works. And here's a great diagram. I think it's right from Oatly. I pulled it from there. So look, so zero pressure. At zero pressure, the Sure vent, that's their name, air admittance valve, is sealed, ready to react to pressure changes. And that's the difference between the two, right? The other one's mechanical. This is going to work on pressure. The Sure vent air admittance valve will not allow sewer gas to enter the structure. So it's sealed at this point. So no sewer gas is going to come up, and that's a good thing, right? So negative pressure of negative 0.01 psi, which is pretty low amount, will cause the Sure vent to open. When open, the airflow from the room through the protective screen past the seal and into the drain waste vent system. As the arrow indicates, when pressure is equalized, the Sure vent AAV returns to zero position. So before sewer gases escape, it returns to its position. You can just see what the arrows are doing. So positive pressure, the Sure vent seals at 0 psi and above indefinitely. So obviously it's going to remain sealed. The figure shows the Sure vent in a sealed position, blocking sewer gases. When pressure subsides, Sure vent AAV returns to the zero position, pressure position. So you're not going to be getting sewer gases in the house, which is a good thing. Again, and this is also not counting on a spring, that could fail. It's counting on the negative pressure to make that happen. So that's how they work. All right, now let's talk about as far as what a home inspector needs. And I want to share some more information here with you going forward. So let's take a look at a traditional vented house, right? So here's our traditional, I'll make it a little bit bigger, our regular drain waste vent that we're going to see in, 90% of the houses we look at, if not more. Very simple. We see our vent stack. Here's our main stack, wet vent down here coming out. And then we see, going from the kitchen, it's got its own vent because it's too far away. This distance is too far. Again, these are all code things. We're not going to worry about it. We will see sometimes these during a home inspection because we'll be in the basement. And we're like, well, that's a far distance away. It should have its own vent. And guess what? It does. Okay. So it's got its own vent right there. No problem. We see this is venting from this downstairs bathroom. And what do most of our codes say? That the vent coming from another fixture has to be over the top of the highest fixture. And you could see it is. Here's the highest fixture, and there's where it's connected. That's great. Sometimes we see these go up into the attic and connect across. That would be fine too. They come up here. This one will come up here and go across. And normally, really, we're probably not going to see one for this room. What I normally see is this going, into the attic space here, and this not here. But that's fine the way it is, right? So if we look at this, we could see that this is good. This is what we typically see. No problem. Where the air admittance valve would come in is, let's say we, put a kitchen over here, and then there's really not a good way to get there. Say this is at that end of the house, like the roof would be, in this area here, on this side. And so what would we do? Well, at that case, we would just be able to connect it straight down in the basement and over here, right up in there. And then this would be a place where we might put, an air admittance valve right here if you couldn't get to it. I'll give you another solution for that later, but that's where we put it. So if we look at this typical traditional vented house, we see this all the time, and that's good, right? So let's take a look at a house that uses more air admittance valves. And again, some municipalities will allow this, other municipalities will not. But what the most national codes and standards say is, if you're going to use air admittance valves, okay, they have to be applied a certain way, they have to be installed a certain way, and we're going to talk about that momentarily. But here's our main stack. But it does say this, that a main stack of no less, I think it's got to be at least 3 inches that penetrates air, must go to the atmosphere. So even though you have air admittance valve, this must go outside. Now, I know, because I've talked to some people, and I believe Canada, I'm not positive, but I believe Canada will allow in the attic space right here a whole house air admittance valve and not have a penetration through the roof at all. They're large, and they would cover the whole system. As far as I know, in this country, or in every municipality I'm aware of, you can't do that. One, the main vent, the main stack has to penetrate through the roof. So if we looked at this, and if you look at just the spirit of the code, we would say that this would be okay. Am I a fan of it? A lot of my plumbing friends are not fans of it. What would be the reason why we couldn't run this in the wall and up and over, a circuit vent for there? Same thing here. Why couldn't we do that? Just like we saw the other picture. We don't necessarily have to put a hole in the roof. There's no problem with this coming up and then connecting in the attic space. I see that all the time. Okay. And this could, come up and connect in the wall or connect in the attic space. I would rather see that personally. But, they are what they are. So I want to show you something else now. So now that we talked about that, let's talk about for a second, what should a home inspector be looking for? And I just put this together because I think this kind of where the rubber meets the road. So an air admittance valve cannot be used for sumps and sewage ejector system. Interesting. I see them all the time. So they're saying no, it has to be, vented to the outside. They're not recommended for that. Again, your municipality may allow it, but it's really not recommended for that. Air admittance valves have a UPC symbol on it. Check valves do not, or mechanical valves may not. We're not really worried about that too much, as long as you know the difference now between a mechanical admittance valve and an air admittance valve. It should be accessible in an adequate airspace. This is important. It can't be inside a wall. It has to be accessible. Right? The size shall be rated properly for the size. Very important. They're all different sizes. So if it's on a 1.5 inch pipe, it's a certain size. If it's on a 2-inch pipe, it's a certain size. 3-inch, 4-inch, they're different sizes. Okay, and this is section 918 of the Universal Plumbing Code, I believe is where that's from, or ICC, I can't remember. But within each plumbing system, not less than one stack vent or vent stack shall extend outwards to open air. So when we saw that second diagram, and I'll go back to that in a minute, we see that the main stack does go out, and that's okay. Okay, so AAV should not be installed in supply or return ducts. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. So the AAV shall be located a minimum of 4 inches above the horizontal branch or fixture drain being vented. I'll go back to that in a minute. So stack type AAV, which is going to be larger and service more fixtures, should not be less than 6 inches above the flood rim of the highest fixture. Very important. Okay, so the AAV shall be located within the maximum developed length permitted for the vent. So whatever that maximum is, that's where it has to be located. The AAV shall be installed not less than 6 inch above insulation materials. Very important. So if that ends somewhere, through a second floor or even in an attic space, if it's not a second floor bathroom, it's got to be 6 inches above the insulation. At that point, you've got one going out, unless it's far in an attic space or there's two different roof lines and we can't get into one to the other. Why wouldn't we just put a circuit vent and put that right into the main vent? But there you go. So this one is the same within each plumbing system. I think I just duplicated that. One vent stack shall extend to the outdoors. They should be installed no more than 15 degrees of vertical. So, it could be on a little bit of an angle. We want it straight like this, but if it's a little bit of an angle, just like maybe 15 degrees, right? So that would be like about like that. No more. It's maybe even a little more than 15 degrees. Should not be exposed to the elements, and that's right, they should not be outside. So some people say, well, what about they just go out the outside wall and up? They can't do that. It's not to be exposed. UV, I think, will degrade them. Check or cheater valves or mechanical valves are only permitted in mobile homes, and check on that also. A lot of my research indicates that they put them in. I don't know if they're necessarily permitted. I think again where that home ends up. But I want to show you again. So what should home inspectors look for? If there's, I would say to you, if there's a lot of them, I might have a plumber take a second look at it, even though this picture, I want to double back to this picture because I want to show you. Okay, we're back to this guy again. All right. So let's say you're doing the inspection here and you see this. Would you say, maybe a plumber should take a second look at this to see what's going on? I have to tell you, personally, if I see this many air admittance valves, I'm wondering what the heck they did. Maybe they remodeled it. Maybe it was a bad flip. I don't know. We normally don't see this. Remember, when the plumbing's going in, the walls are open. But I wanted to just point out a couple things to you. If you're looking at a single vent, we talked about the distance. So this vent needs to be 4 inches above this pipe. Okay, it needs to be 4 inches because it's just protecting a single fixture. But in this case, it's protecting both of those, right? And maybe there's a shower here too. Here, this may be a better case. So this is protecting everything, even though not really the toilet, but these two. In this case, this needs to be 6 inches. Okay, so simple way to remember this is if it's protecting one fixture, it's got to be 4 inches above that horizontal. If it's protecting multiples, it's got to be 6 inches above that. So that's easy to recommend, easy for us to spot. But again, we see a lot of these. Most of the time when I see them, especially on new builds, almost always on new builds, if I see just one, it's in the kitchen or maybe a wet bar or something like that, I'm not going to make a big deal out of it, right? If it's 4 inches above, it's installed properly, and it's the actual air admittance valve, not a mechanical valve, not going to make a big deal out of it. Okay. However, is there another option? And I will tell you there is another option, and a better option, if possible. Again, depends on the plumber, and some of them will call it a loop valve or loop vent, sorry. Loop vent. Now here's the same situation. Now, if we were just going to use an air admittance valve, right, this would be coming out, this would have to be longer, right? And the air admittance valve would be up here. We want 4 inches. I know I'm writing over this, but that's, I'm not a great artist. People will tell you that. There's where, if that were air admittance valve. But in this case, it's a loop. vent, which I again like better. Okay, so what we've got is our, and it's not an S-trap because it's going, this is where the vent is. So this is going straight down, this is going up, but instead of going straight up to the atmosphere, it's looping around and going into the vent here. Depending on the size of this pipe, there's also going to be some air here. So that may also assist it. But the water, and I'll do the water in this lighter color. The water is coming this way. Okay, and then the vent is over here. So this would be the way that I would want to run it personally. If you can, it's not always the case, but I'd say my direction to you is if you see a lot of these, I would probably have a plumber take a second look at it. But how would you report on it? Very simple. Let's take the scenario where there's all air admittance valves. If there's one, I might make a note that there's an air admittance valve, and I might not. It's because it's fine. I'm not going to make a big deal. And if it's installed properly, if it's not, I'll show you how to do that too. So in inspection, I'll go to plumbing. I'm going to go to drain waste vent. And, we could say it's a public in this case, and the materials in here are PVC because we'll say it's a newer house. And I'm going to come down here and I'm going to go evidence of improper venting or blocked vent, or drain pipes are not connected properly. But I would probably go here. Proper venting of the drain waste vent sewer system allows water to flow easily through the pipes, prevent noise, carry gases to the atmosphere. Inspectors indicated there may be a problem with the venting. Okay, and I would say the venting system, recommend repair. And I could put it anywhere in here really. And I would put all fixtures have air. Oops, put a capital there. Thanks, inspect check. Okay, and maybe if you want to accept main stack, maybe. All right, so we're saying have a plumber take a look at it. And the plumber's going to look at that and say, gee, there's air admittance valves at every single fixture? So yeah, at every single fixture. Now you could also change that and say, air all fixtures, and you could say multiple fixtures or many or fixtures on each floor have air admittance valves. Whatever way you want to put it, that's up to you. And this would let them know there's a problem. We want to take a look at that, and we might have to have an issue with maybe some slow drains, temporary repairs or slow drains, and that's when you're really going to take a good look at those drains. And that's definitely what I'm going to do. I want to fill up those fixtures, let them drain, listen, see if they're draining properly, see what's happening. And if there's a problem, then we're definitely going to make a note of that. And like I said, most plumbers do not put them in the entire house, but I've seen them that were in many places. And a lot of times that house was renovated and they couldn't get to where the stacks were. But there's also other solutions with that loop stack or a loop vent, whatever you want to call it. Could be a good solution to that. So that's the way I would report it. I'd like to see as many vented to the outside as possible, and just those air admittance valve used for places where we just can't get to a vent, which is a kitchen island or a bar. So I would be limited to the amount I see. But if you see a lot of them and the water's flowing fine, I'd make a note of it and say they're there. If there's an issue, you may want to contact the plumber at that time. But I would just let them know, what you see, and so they can have good, clear direction, like we always say. So I hope you enjoyed this. And we had a great conversation with some inspectors the other day about it. So I hope it helped you out. And make sure to hit the subscribe button, please. And you'll be the first one to get these videos. And there's many more here that you can look at. I've got so much information. I love sharing it. You can also go to homeinspectortrainingonline.com for some more. And until next time, have a great day.